Hey man, you ready to do the podcast this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, why don't you say we have a beer while we go?
Are you serious? You're actually offering me alcohol?
Well,
Like, I'm
yeah.
Christian AF, man.
What? No, you're not. You're HSF,
Oh, yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, right. I'll have a beer.
Cool, cool. Well, let me kick that over to you real quick.
Thanks.
All right. Let's cue the intro.
Cheers.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
With your hosts, Jeff and Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How are you doing this week?
Yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a real good week. Second week of vacation, so
Sweet.
it's been relaxing. And yeah, how about you?
It's good, good. I got some new toys in the mail this week as you were helping me set up and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about where the stream can go. So don't forget, if you're interested in some Call of Duty, check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/tally_006. And there's my plug for the week.
Yeah, that was better than last week. Did you practice that?
I've been practicing all week long.
Nice.
Okay, we have a big show. This is going to be a long one. Just bear with us. Stay to the end. Hopefully everybody noticed the timestamps in last week's episode. This episode will definitely have that, as well as all following episodes. So make sure to check out the description below for the timestamps for the part of the show that you most want to check out. With that said, we have Being the Elite this week, Dark as always, Dynamite as always, but we have a really, I don't want to say special's kind of the wrong word, but we have a very important segment of Breaking Kayfabe to go through, which we'll start off the show with, so why don't we just get right into it.
Cool.
Okay, so there is some big news, some unfortunate news, some well-needed news, depending on your position. But the hashtag #MeToo, hashtag #SpeakingOut movement has grown over the last year and a half, and it's finally kind of made its way into the wrestling world. A lot of professional wrestlers have been accused of sexual abuse and sexual harassment against co-workers, other professional wrestlers, as well as fans and just general, life partners and stuff like that. And it's kind of blowing up. It's been blowing up, which is a good thing. It's really important that these women's stories are heard, and I'm hoping that they're getting the closure and whatever they need emotionally to get over these traumatic experiences that they've suffered. But we've had our first kind of involvement in the AEW realm, and I figure it's about time that we kind of put our our voices to it, and we'll talk about it a little bit. So as you see on the screen right now, this is an official statement from AEW as a company themselves. It's about Jimmy Havoc. I'll just read it off here. We wish Jimmy Havoc all the best as he receives treatment and counseling in an effort to overcome the mental health and substance abuse challenges in his life. We are aware that various reports related to Jimmy. We are evaluating his status with our company and will address it when he has successfully completed his rehabilitation. Okay, so when I first read that, I thought like, holy crap, like what's going on? What did Jimmy get into? Did he like go on a bender? You know, like what happened? Why are they like sending him to this like rehab apparently, or at least forcing him to go? And then it was like a day later, maybe even a couple hours later, we get the news about Sammy Guevara, one of the hot rising stars in AEW. And again, this is an official statement from AEW. AEW insists on doing our part to create a world of understanding and respect for humankind. We therefore strongly condemn the extremely offensive and hurtful words of Sammy Guevara. As such, effective immediately, Sammy is suspended without pay until further notice. Sammy has agreed to undergo extensive sensitivity training, and upon completion, his future status within the company will be re-evaluated. During his suspension, his salary will be donated to the Women's Center of Jacksonville. So hearing those statements and maybe not having the context behind them, what were your thoughts when you heard this news?
Well, it's mixed emotions.
Right.
Jimmy and Sammy are like two of my favorite guys in AEW. So, for Jimmy, I don't know. It seems like there's more to the story than maybe I know. I thought that it was maybe just a substance abuse kind of thing. It sounds like there might be more to it. I mean, he is from the UK, and I have seen him kind of outside of a wrestling capacity, and I know that he likes to have a drink. I've seen him on Kip Sabian's stream, and they're talking about times on the road, and it always involved alcohol. So, and I mean, it's not a new thing to the wrestling world for guys to kind of fall into that, right? So, yeah, it seems like there's a chance that he'll come back, though. At least that's how I'm reading it. As far as Sammy goes, at first I was just like, wow, I can't believe he would say something like that, even though he does say some pretty stupid things. But after you watch his last vlog, and he said this would be his last vlog for a long time. He said that that was Sammy Guevara 4 years ago, when he thought that saying outrageous things was funny and was kind of part of his gimmick, and he's grown a lot since then. He seemed very apologetic.
Right.
So yeah, he needs to pay for his mistakes for sure. This could ruin his career. I could see him possibly not coming back to AEW ever.
Wow. Yeah, I had very similar thoughts as you did. I mean, towards Jimmy, I totally thought this was just the substance abuse thing, but it has come out as I did some research into everything. There is a young lady out there that is accusing him of raping her. She was a fan at a show. She was friends with one of the other wrestlers on the show. So she got invited to an after party. She started talking with Jimmy. They were hitting it off. She found out that he was married. He was very, very drunk. So she offered to, walk him back to his hotel. He invited her up, against her better judgment. She agreed and went up. And, it was just, he was sleeping on the floor and I was sleeping in the bed kind of thing. And before I knew it, he was in the bed too. I blacked out from there kind of story. So
right.
I find it hard that Jimmy will be back. I'm kind of flipped this way.
Okay.
He will be.
I mean, after that news, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
like,
for
I
sure.
didn't know that part.
Yeah, for sure. So I find it hard to believe if Jimmy will be back in AEW, at least like what you would assume is the near future. If you go to a rehabilitation center of some sort for 6 months to a year, and then you come back when you're you're better, for lack of a better term. I think maybe 5-6 years down the road, he might get another shot. But I it sucks.
If he's even cleared of these allegations, right?
Right.
Because I think if it's proven that it happened, then there's probably no question he won't be back.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then getting into Sammy, like Sammy is, I don't want to say, this is such a sensitive subject, and I just want everybody to know that, like, anything I say about this, I have the best intentions, and if I say something a little wrong, like, don't jump on me. I just, for a lack of a vocabulary or experience in this subject, I might say something a little kind of off-putting, but Sammy is kind of the poster boy for this situation where, and what I mean by that is that Sammy said something in 2015 that was horrifically wrong to say. He should have never said it. I agree with that. It was part of a podcast. Like he said, he thought he was being funny, but he was just a young kid. He would have been only like 19, 18 years old at that time. Right? It was bad. You shouldn't have said it. But it was 5 years ago. And I'm glad it got brought up. I'm glad it's out in the open. I'm glad he took the time to apologize. He is taking accountability for what he said. He's not hiding from this. I said this. I was wrong. I accept my punishment by AEW. He even got in contact and had a conversation with Sasha Banks, who he said the remarks about. And they had a talk. Sasha has come out and said, I've talked with Sammy. I don't think she actually says the words, I accepted his apology, but she does say he was very sincere in the words that he was saying to me. It was wrong. He knows it's wrong. Kind of. And then that was the situation. Sammy's going to a sensitivity, whatever treatment, chorus, whatever you want to call it. I think Sammy will be back in the near future, being that 6 months to a year. So
now the reason I think he might not be back is for the same reason. Is he's now the poster child.
Right.
He's going to be the example of how what you say matters, and it can ruin your career.
That's true.
So I could just see them making an example out of him. I hope not, because he is really talented.
I guess my kind of feelings behind this is that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's said something they wish they never said in the past. Sometimes it comes back and it haunts you. But, I mean, sometimes you got to give people the benefit of doubt of growth. Like, Sammy is obviously matured since then. And he's doing what he needs to do to get past this. Hopefully, the wrestling community as a whole can see that and forgive him, and then he doesn't need to be that poster child. That's what I hope.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's not like he acted on anything. It
was just a comment.
Said something really stupid.
Yeah, agreed. Like, it is what it is. But when you compare it to all the other names that are out there, Joey Ryan was a big name that got named. Mike Elin, the bro himself, Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream. Like, there's a lot of big names in the wrestling community that are being, accused of these horrific actions. And these are people who apparently, supposedly, have acted on those comments, if you will. And these guys are the ones that are, this did not happen. These are completely false. Their lawyers are putting up, statements on their behalf. They've all gotten rid of their social medias for the time being. Like, this is a really big deal. And I mean, there's a lot of careers on the line. So in comparison, I feel like Sammy's going to be okay because he is taking kind of the right steps. Mind you, his action comparatively, again, not as bad as some of these other accusations, but I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see and report on it as more news comes out. But, you know, it's not looking good for a lot of really big names. It's not looking good. All right. But that's our conversation on that. Let's move on to another section of Breaking Kayfabe. This kind of got, you know, brought to light just this past Wednesday on Dynamite. But Renee Young, former commentator on Raw, you know, she was running WWE Backstage, good Canadian girl. You know, she big part of WWE, very, very important part. Anyways, she was feeling sick, got tested for COVID at Orlando at the WWE Event Center, Performance Center, sorry. They cleared her. She worked another couple days, went home to Vegas, was feeling more sick, was feeling worse, and got tested by a doctor in Las Vegas. She has tested positive for COVID-19. And this impacted Wednesday night because her husband is Jon Moxley. So Jon also got tested at the same time. His test results came back negative, but he is taking the precautions. He was very open and transparent to Tony Khan and AEW, and they agreed that he should stay home, do his 14 days of isolation, and get tested again to see if he can even work this Fyter Fest. What are your thoughts on this Renee Young, Jon Moxley situation and the COVID-19 breakout as a whole as pertaining to WWE?
Well, you know what? I feel bad for Renee and, you know, everybody who, you know, is, you know, dealing with the whole COVID situation. It is also really hard not to think of like the bad luck that Jon Moxley has. Like, it just seems as soon as he gets some momentum, you know, something happens. He gets a staph infection. You know, it just stupid things always seem to kind of get in his way once he gets going. But Jon always comes back, and we wish Renee, you know, a speedy recovery.
For sure.
And but the sort of side effect of all of this is putting into question the WWE's methods on how they're testing their performers. Yes. And I don't know. Do you think that this could shut down WWE if they don't fix it?
I mean, potentially. I think the possibility is more than high that this could bring WWE's weekly operations to a halt. I'm not sure what the exact number of people that are working down in Orlando right now, you know, on a day-to-day basis down there. You know, the NXT Performance Center is still functioning. You know, the young guys and girls are still going there to work out and work on their stuff. And then you have the main roster talent coming in every week to film Raw and SmackDown. You know, they're filming promos and vignettes still. Like, there's still a lot of work being done. And the Performance Center, as spectacular as it is in comparison to the rest of the world, is a very, very small place for what I can only assume is 50, 60, 70 people working at any one time. And as of yesterday, I haven't heard any more about it today, not that I've looked, but as of yesterday, they were looking at 24 COVID cases coming out of the WWE in the last week.
Wow.
So that's a third, at least, of their population down there. That's big. And one of the ring announcers, backstage interviewers. Can't remember what her name is. Charlie Caruso. Is that her name?
Okay, yeah, Charlie, yeah.
This is the second time she's contracted COVID.
Oh, wow.
She had it back in March, did her isolation, was cleared of it, and now she's caught it again. So very much a reminder that, this isn't the chicken pox. You don't get it once and you'll never get it again. Like, you can very well get this disease, this virus again. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves out there. Wash your hands. Wear that mask if you're going out into heavy populated areas. Stay away from heavily populated areas.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it's big. I think this very well has a potential to... I don't know if it'll stop the machine that is the WWE, but it's going to slow it down. I really do. And especially with, tying into all the legal matters that they got going on with all this, the stuff we were talking about earlier. So, yeah, it's... Mm-hmm. I think AEW's been doing it right. Everybody's wearing bracelets that they've been tested, that they're fever clear and all that stuff. And then they talk about it on the show. We are doing this. We are taking care of our talent. We are making sure everybody is taken care of. When they pan the little bit of a crowd that they have, everybody's wearing masks. They're promoting the right things. And I think AEW is knocking it out of the park, to bring back an old catchphrase of mine. So that is that. All right, so let's move on to another piece of news. Happy, sad. I'll let you make your own conclusions. But the Undertaker has officially retired from wrestling. He has said he has no desire or need to ever be back in the ring again. There was a special put out on the WWE Network called The Last Ride. It's kind of a 30 for 30 kind of mini doc about the Undertaker. Mark Calloway being the the subject. He's doing these interviews. He's not the Undertaker. He's Mark, and it's kind of a side that you don't get to see too often out of the Undertaker. So really interesting piece of footage. I want to check it out. I haven't checked it out yet, but one of the greats has hung up the boots once and for all. We've gotten many teases over the last few years, but he always seemed to come back. What are your thoughts on the career of the Undertaker? What are some of your memories of the Undertaker?
Yeah, just phenomenal. He was always the guy that put on the show. He's had some of the greatest matches and some of the not so greatest matches. We've heard a lot of stories from other wrestlers in working with the Undertaker, and I've read all of Chris Jericho's books, and he mentions Undertaker quite a bit, and how Undertaker actually taught him a lot about how to be in the business and whatnot. And so, sad, but everybody's career comes to an end. And although for a lot of wrestlers, they stay in wrestling even when they leave the ring, it's hard to believe that we won't see him again, because how many times has he took those gloves off and left them in the ring?
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Like 47 times or something. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know what's your earliest memories? I can't even think about it.
Probably one of the first. I mean, I've watched, the WWE Network. I've seen all the old footage, so it's really hard for me to pinpoint what the first memory of him was, because I've seen so much stuff from before. But to me, the first memory of seeing the Undertaker was like Survivor Series 93 or 94, and he was in a Buried Alive match. It was like one of the first Buried Alive matches, and he tombstones the turkey, the Goobly Gawker, I think. It was like some mascot that Vince thought up for Survivor Series, because Survivor Series was the Thanksgiving pay-per-view. And yeah, Undertaker tombstones this guy in a turkey suit out on the big mound of dirt that they had outside of the entrance. Like that's the first time I've seen the Undertaker. But I mean, I grew up on the Ministry Undertaker. It was kind of one of his first reinventions, you know, and going into the corporate ministry throughout the Attitude Era. Like that's what the Undertaker was to me, and then you get the 2000s American Badass. Like that was just cool. He was coming out to Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit, stuff like that. This is the guy who, like you think about Jericho and all the reinventions. Taker reinvented himself without reinventing himself. He always did new things, but it was still the Undertaker. And they
were like they're not subtle, but you didn't really notice it. You're just like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. When the first time he comes out as the American Badass and he's on that Harley, he's just revving the shit out of it, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Even though like it doesn't, but you're like, yeah. Man, that totally works.
Dead people can ride motorcycles too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's just talk about that. The Undertaker was a gimmick. This is a gimmick during the gimmick era of WWE. Every wrestler had a job. You had the Repo Man, you had the Garbage Man, you had the hockey player, you had, the farmers. Everybody had a job gimmick. The Undertaker is the only one that worked. He was a funeral director. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only one that worked, and it's the only one that lasted 30 years. It's amazing, and I think that's just an attestament to Mark and making that character work. I think a lot of credit's got to go to Paul Bearer as well.
Yeah. Like, see, and I think when I think of Undertaker, I actually more think of Paul Bearer, because he did more of the talking,
right,
than Undertaker did at that time.
For sure.
So that voice, like, that always reminds me of Undertaker. Although, like, he could cut a promo himself really well. So yeah, crazy. Well, AEW confirmed? Or?
I mean, there's a spot in the show, The Last Ride, where, or no, it was Mark does Corey Graves' podcast, and I think Graves is talking about, did he ever entertain the idea of going to WCW, and now, do you have any inklings to go to AEW at all, or work with AEW? And I'm like, Jesus, Corey, your podcast just started. Like, are you really throwing it under the bus already? But anyways, the question was asked, and Undertaker's like, at the time of the WCW thing, like, I just believed in what Vince was doing, and I stuck with him. It was me and Sean. We were the ones who stuck with Vince, and it ended up being the right call. As for AEW, apparently he had this whole conversation with Vince. Because when, do you remember last year, might it even been like 2018 before the official announcement of AEW, but The Undertaker wasn't The Undertaker on social media anymore. And he was like open. He had like a link to book him, for signings and stuff like that. And he like got rid of all the WWE affiliations on his social media. And then AEW's announced, and Vince is like, what's going on? Are you leaving me? What? And Undertaker's like, no, man. Like, it's just like, I don't have a contract right now with you. I got to make money somehow. So, I'm going to conventions and signing pictures. Like, Jesus Christ. So there's kind of a funny story about Undertaker and AEW in this new show or on the podcast. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, funny stuff. But anyways, yeah, this is dragging out a little bit long. So congratulations to Undertaker, one of the best careers in all of wrestling. You're up there with one of the greats. I would put my money on saying the most respected performer in all of professional wrestling. You know, he might not have been the best, but he was the most respected. No one has ever said a bad word about The Undertaker. So,
Yeah,
congratulations, man. Enjoy your retirement. All right.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, one last little bit of news before we get into the rest of the show. Tessa Blanchard, the Impact World Champion, the first ever women's world champion in professional wrestling, has been terminated from her contract with Impact Wrestling.
Wow, and that's pretty new, isn't it?
Yesterday,
She,
last
didn't she
night.
just- no, but I mean, didn't she just sign not too long ago?
Well, yeah, she's been a part of Impact for less than a year, I believe.
So what happened? Do you know?
Yeah,
Are we hearing
so
anything?
with the COVID pandemic situation, she's been living in Mexico City with or I shouldn't say Mexico City, but she's been living down in Mexico with her boyfriend. And, you know, the show must go on. Impact is building right now to Slammiversary, is one of their big pay-per-views. And she's been supposed to be recording these vignettes and video promos and sending them in so that they can cut them into the show to help build this big, they're planning this big like six-way fatal six-way match for the world championship. And she just didn't send in the videos. She hasn't really been in contact with anybody at Impact. And I guess they just had enough and they cut her loose. Now,
Wow.
by design or just negligence, I don't know what her side of the story is. But it's got a lot of people talking. And especially with a certain Fyter Fest coming up and a certain women's wrestler who doesn't have a named opponent. What are your thoughts? Her dad works there.
So ROH, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, of course, ROH.
She's going to ROH?
She's going to ROH confirmed.
No, like, I mean, that it almost seems too good to be true, but
The whole
I mean, it's good, but it sucks for her. In that, I feel like when you do a rat thing like that, that stays with you. And how could AEW trust her if she's just going to pull that kind of crap and goes the next place? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And again, she's in Mexico. I believe that border's closed with the pandemic. I don't think she would even be able to come up to the States to work Fyter Fest. But I mean, the option is there. Now, this whole situation reminds me of what's his name? I forget. He was like a creative writer for WWE, and then Bullet Club does the invasion. He goes out and takes a picture with them and then gets fired for it. And it's just like, you know, Cody was telling him, don't post that.
Right.
But he posts it anyways. You know what I mean? Like there was some purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this kind of reminds me of that. But I don't understand how you're working for this company. It's an up and coming company. It's starting to get a lot of name value back. They just bought a television station, so they can basically never be canceled. They put the world championship on you, and then you try to get out of it by doing this. Some things don't add up to me, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to
especially
see what happens.
when she was on the Chris Van Blah show,
right? And
I think he brought up about like why did you choose Impact and why not, you know, like an AEW, blah 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 blah. And she had a pretty intelligent reason for that.
Right.
So it just seems so weird that, you know, within such a short amount of time, it's kind of got to this. There's got to be more to the story.
I think there's got to be more to the story too. So we'll just have to wait to see what she says in a response. You know, I don't know. It's a weird situation, but there's another big name talent out there on the free roster waiver wire. So we'll see what happens. All right, that was a good segment of Breaking Kayfabe. Let's get into the rest of the show. Let's talk about being the elite.
Yeah, what'd you think of this episode?
I mean, the last few have just been so sour. I'm not liking this, but I mean, it was better than the rest of the last few. So I mean, things are looking up. But
yeah, do you feel like maybe they've done a lot of the filming for this and they just keep releasing a little bit each week, which is why we're not really getting anything new at this point?
That's possible. That's a good idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
this is still all
really
being
all of the same thing.
It's kind of all been filmed while things were shut down. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, for me, the only highlight really was when they show Best Friends the second time.
Yeah.
And they're like thinking of an idea, and their idea is to kill off Brandon Cutler.
Right. And Orange Cassidy brings up Fast and the Furious again.
Right.
He's like, so like I'm bald and we have a family.
And we drink Coronas.
Yeah, and we drink Coronas, and then Chucky's like, dude, that's Fast and the Furious again. He's like, no, but like this time The Rock will be in it. I popped pretty hard for when he said that.
Yeah.
But
and then I thought it was interesting at the end in the outro, they had Matt bleeding.
Right.
So, you know, something a little bit different anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
It's just,
but it's not as good as it used to be.
It's not as good as it used to be. It's missing the mark, and that's all there is to it. But what did you think of this Dark Order bit?
Yeah, I meant to ask you about that. Is this the first time we've seen Dark Order on BTE? Like in like a bit capacity? I think we've seen them in passing maybe, but like have they had a bit?
I don't think so. I think this might
I
be
don't
the
remember.
first time. This might be the first time.
Are we supposed to know what Brodie Lee was blaming everyone for?
I have no idea.
Or is this the start of a story now?
Maybe it's the start. I really don't know. This totally went over my head. I can't even remember what he was angry about, but they got to go through 40,000 emails. And, you know, Long
he was
John
just walking around the room saying, this is your fault, this is your fault, this is your fault, and especially your fault. And he's pointing at Evil Uno.
Right. And Uno's like, I'll take care of it. And then he passes it on to Long John Silver and Alex Riley, and they're pumped. They're like, we have a job. Yeah. You know, like it was, I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to get a promotion. Yeah.
It's going over my head. I don't know what's going on, but I guess we'll have to see to really know what's going on. We got another TH2 segment. You know, this was a really intense promo that these two cut on the tag team division. Like, I'm starting to get pumped up for their return.
Yeah. They're really shooting on Young Bucks too.
Right.
So interesting in that we have kind of FTR involved with the Young Bucks, and now these guys are in it. So yeah, I'm on board with you. I can't wait till these guys are back and we can really see a story going on with them.
Yeah, for sure. We'll wait and see. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully we get some new bits, some better executed content, and yeah, that's all there is to it. So that's BTE for this week. Let's move on to AEW Dynamite, or Dark, sorry, AEW Dark. What did we have this week?
AEW Dark, another huge show. 9 matches. I'll quickly go through them here. In the first match, we had Robert Anthony versus Brian Cage. Brian Cage defeating Robert Anthony on that one. We had SCU defeating David Ali and Musa. Then we had Sean Spears defeating Pineapple Pete. I watched that match, and in that match, we saw the claw, or not the claw, but the glove for the very first time. And I really liked how Sean did all of that, the way he was like looking at the glove and kissing the glove, and really good match. In the next match, we had Lance Archer defeating Griff Garrison. Is this the second time we've seen?
Maybe. I think it was the first. I think it was his debut, but
This is the first match? Okay. But they did a BTE bit where he was mistaken for Jungle Boy.
Right.
The curly hair.
Yeah.
In match 5, we had one of our favorite new tag teams, Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, defeating Dark Order. Now, this was a match I wasn't sure who was going to win this one.
I wasn't sure either.
There was no jobbers. And I like how they might be giving these guys a push. So, yeah, good to hear on for those guys.
Was Dark Order?
Did you watch that match?
Was Dark Order Long John and Alex Riley?
I forget.
I think so. I think
probably, yeah. Anyways. In the next match, we had Mel, who we haven't seen in a while. Yeah, Mel was the what was she part of? What was that faction Brandy was trying to start? Do you even remember?
The Nightmare Collective.
Oh yeah, she's part of the Nightmare Collective.
So
she went up against Keelan King and she won. This was actually a really good match.
This was a really good match. Yeah, it was. It had a really strong finish, like just how King was really getting the upper hand, and Mel just hits this big, impactful move at the end and kind of squeaks out the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention, as you brought up, Nightmare Collective, that whole Brandy Rhodes faction kind of fell apart at the turn of the year. And we were like, well, what's happening to Mel and Luther? If you've noticed, Mel still hangs out with Luther in the crowd. So they must still have some kind of connection. We just haven't had a chance to see that yet. They haven't had a chance to talk about that yet. So maybe we'll get some answers as to why Brandy split off from the collective and kind of concentrated on the Nightmare family. Maybe we'll get some kind of conclusion to that.
Mm-hmm. I think if it's not Tessa Blanchard at Fyter Fest, I think Mel could go against Nyla Rose.
That could work.
That could be a good match.
That could work.
In the next match, we had Scorpio Sky going over on Lee Johnson. In the second last match, we had Jurassic Express, the full team, versus Serpentico, Max Caster, and Luther. Did you watch that match?
I saw bits of it. Kind of was doing other stuff at the same time, but seemed to go well. I mean, you know me in 6-man tag matches, so
yeah, that I didn't even watch it because of that. Then in the main event, we had Orange Cassidy defeating Peter Avalon, and this was the match I was most interested in, not just because it was the main event, but you kind of have both of these comedic wrestlers together, and I wanted to see how that gelled, and I thought it was a really good match. I really enjoyed this one. What did you think of this one?
Exactly the same thing. Like, these two really put on a show, and they displayed their athleticism when they needed to, and they made you chuckle at the same time. So really well done match. Is a perfect dark match. This is what dark matches should be. And Orange Cassidy goes over, keeps him looking good going into Fyter Fest when he faces Le Champion in Chris Jericho. So I mean, everything about this match worked for me. It was probably the match of the card for me coming out of Dark.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so not a bad week of Dark, just long.
Just long. and we've talked extensively about our thoughts on that, so we won't get into it again. All right, let's move into this week's AEW Power Rankings for the week of June 24th, 2020. What do we got?
All right. In the men's division, we have no changes in our champion. So we still have Jon Moxley and Cody as our champions. MJF still in the number 1 position. We have Brian Cage, first time making the top 5. He debuts at number 2, and that makes sense in that he's possibly going to be fighting Jon Moxley at Fyter Fest.
Right.
Then we have Lance Archer moves down 1 position to number 3. Brodie Lee down as well to number 4, and rounding out the top 5, we have Chris Jericho. So Kenny Omega no longer in the top 5. In the women's division, we still have our champion Hikaru Shida. Nyla Rose being the number 1 contender. Penelope Ford up to the number 2 position, which again makes sense based on the matches going on at Fyter Fest. Big Swole, I don't think she's ever been in the top 5, not that I can remember anyways. She's number 3 now. And then rounding out the top 5, we have Chris Statlander and Britt Baker. So Yuka Sakazaki finally out of the top 5. We haven't seen her forever and a day.
Yeah.
And she's out of the top 5. It was funny. I was on Twitter the other day, and someone tweeted Kenny Omega and said, you gotta bring the Japanese girls back. And he just replied and said, I wish I could.
Right.
So yeah, can't wait to get those girls back.
Just before we move on, I just want to note that I called Penelope Ford would be number 2. I just missed it by a week.
Yeah, bonus points.
Bonus points. How about the tag team division?
All right, we still have our champs Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, best friends, the number 1 contenders. Dark Order up to number 2, Young Bucks up to number 3, Natural Nightmares down to number 4, and Private Party rounding out the top 5.
Good stuff.
So a lot of movement this week, and I guess that kind of makes sense, being that Fyter Fest will be next week.
Right.
All right, let's talk about some Dynamite.
Let's get right into Dynamite. June 24th, 2020, live from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. The show started off with a lumberjack match going Luchasaurus versus Wardlow. We had all the mid-carders, if you will, surrounding the ring.
Brandon Cutler was there.
Oh, there were some low-card guys there? Some jobbers? Good stuff. Good match. Horrible lumberjack match. Like, for the first 10 minutes of this match, or however long it was, we'll say the first half, the lumberjacks were not doing their job. And it's funny because in the WWE or the vanilla brand, when they have lumberjack matches, it's like the babyface gets thrown out and everybody just beats the shit out of them. And then the heel gets thrown out and everybody just beats the shit out of them. And it's just like, man, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just beat up the babyface and then the heel gets that heat that the lumberjacks are just out there helping him? And I never understood it. And then Luchasaurus is the first one thrown out of the ring and everybody's like, are you okay, man? Are you all right? You should get back in the ring. And it's just like, what the? Beat the shit out of him. What's going on?
Well, but he got thrown onto the face side, right? And then you had Jungle Boy and Marco there. You could see Best Friends in the background going like, throw him back in, throw him back in, and no one's doing anything.
That's what I mean. It's just it was a poor lumberjack match.
I agree with you, and I think it was because it wasn't a lumberjack match. Like, it was just a bunch of wrestlers on the outside of the ring doing their own spots.
Right. So why call it a lumberjack match? I don't know. It missed the
Is
mark
this the
with me.
first? Is this the first lumberjack match
Yeah, I think
they've
so.
ever had? Yeah.
They might have had one on one of the first darks, maybe, but I feel like this is the first one. But
Not well executed.
But the match itself was really good. These two big guys worked really well together, really showing off Luchasaurus' agility. He was doing all these flips and stuff like that. The spot up on the stage going down to the floor and all the crashes into people. Wardlow throws Marco Stunt, for a 40-yard touchdown. It felt like it was... the match itself worked. It's just it wasn't a lumberjack match. So
Yeah.
I just feel like it was mislabeled. But
Yeah, I wonder if they would have done more of the guys outside of the ring and, like you say, kind of getting beat on a little bit. And
it doesn't take much just to make it a lumberjack match. That opening spot when Luchasaurus goes out of the ring, throw him out on the other side. Eventually he made his way over there, but it was only MJF that really got involved. The other guys didn't really touch him. It was weird. It was just awkward.
And then they really only had two sides, right?
Right.
They can't go the stage side because they can't sit
There's
on
no
that
floor.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other side's the hard camera, so they didn't have anybody there. So
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just awkward. They'll learn, though.
But really, this leads to kind of some stuff at the end, right? And building on the conflicts between the MJF and Jungle Boy.
Right.
I guess
And I mean,
you'd say.
Essentially, this is the setup for the match that we're going to see at Fyter Fest, which gets announced a little bit later in the show. But it's going to be Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus MJF and Wardlow in a tag team match. So that'll be really interesting to see how that turns out. But again, we'll talk about that a little later in the show. Wardlow wins this match by F10. Moving on, we had our next matchup of the night. In the women's division, Hikaru Shida going up against Damien's favorite newcomer, Red Velvet.
We seen her in Dark the week before, and I thought she did really well. So they must have impressed, Cody and the Bucks and whatnot, and she gets her Dynamite debut.
For sure.
What'd you think of this match?
I mean, obviously this wasn't about Shida versus Velvet. This was about Shida and Ford building some heat for their upcoming match at Fyter Fest. And that's evident right from the start. Shida's not even in the ring yet. And she's looking to the right. And you're like, what's she looking at? And sure enough, she makes a beeline, goes to the edge of the ring. She gets involved with Ford. There's some pushing and some shoving at this moment. Finally, Paul Turner comes out, get in the ring. You have a match. And essentially it's ding, 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 running knee, Falcon Arrow, 1, 2, 3. Sheeta's back outside. This time Ford's not looking and all hell breaks loose. Ricky Starks, probably the star of the pull apart on this one. He took a couple of errant shots from Sheeta's elbow and Ford's fist. Did a good job not to cop a feel there. I noticed he had the flat hand trying to hold Shida back. He's trying to avoid his own #SpeakingOut moment. But
Right.
I couldn't help but watch Starks on this one. He was just.
I was too. It's so funny that you say that because you could tell that he wasn't selling. Like he was legitimately hurt. Like
He got popped. His eyes were watering. I think he got one right on the bridge of the nose. And I don't know if you've ever gotten one of those, but yeah, you're just like, oh. He's just
because you sell, right? Like you go down, you sell, but he kept going like Oh man. I'll have to go back and
Yeah,
watch that again.
it was funny. Good job,
But I like
Stamps.
how Sabian gets involved again. I always like when he gets involved with whoever Ford is against, and Shida gives him a real shot here, and I like the glasses, and you broke my glasses.
Yeah,
And,
he puts them back on, and one lens is gone, and he doesn't notice right away. And all of a sudden, he takes them off. He's like, oh, "You broke my glasses." Sabian does a really good job working with the girls. I feel like he can make those girls look strong. Not saying they're not strong, but he makes them look really good when they get shots on them. It's just really well done. This segment was really good. Is what
I really enjoyed it.
So yeah, Shida goes over on Velvet. I almost said Velvet Sky, but that's a different wrestler altogether. She goes over on Red Velvet, as well as getting the upper hand in the mental game on Penelope Ford at the same time. So good outing from Shida. Our next segment of the night was this Fyter Fest press conference. They kind of hyped it up a little bit earlier in the show, that AEW held a press conference for the TNT title match coming up at Fyter Fest. Again, just AEW trying to make it seem like real sporting, as much as possible, which was kind of their mandate from the beginning. And what did you think of this segment? I'm still kind of on the fence on how I felt on how this was all executed.
I mean, I was a bit confused at the beginning on how they were going to do a press conference.
Right.
After it kind of started, or you first kind of get that image of what it's about. You're like, oh, it's like a UFC type of, thing. I like how Jake's not there.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you're wondering, he's obviously going to show up at some point, I'm thinking. But then Arn Anderson gets on the mic, and right there, I was done. I mean, it was a better promo than I've seen him do in the past, but it didn't keep my attention. And then Cody talks a little bit. I don't know. I think the idea of it was all good. It just seemed very scripted, planned. I don't know how to even describe it. Like, it was fake.
Right.
Do you know what I mean by that? Like,
so
it wasn't organic enough for me. It didn't seem real.
I kind of mentioned how I'm kind of on the fence on how I felt about this. I like the idea of it. I feel the execution was poor. Again, we need to keep Arn Anderson off the microphone. I can't stress this enough. Unless this guy is given a word-for-word script, he talks his way into, I don't know. He says 10 words where 5 would do. Do you know what I mean? Like he just can't get his point across clearly and to the point. Neither can I, apparently, as I said point like 5 times in that sentence. But where I think this could have been better, Cody excels. The best of Cody we've seen are where it's just him in a dark room, sitting on a stool, and he just talks to us. You know what I mean? I feel like a produced video package would have made a bigger impact for this match than this. This kind of situation would work with Mox and Cage. Big personalities where they don't really have a ton of people who need to be around them. Because like Cody had Dustin, Allie was there, Brandy was there, Arn was there, the AEW lawyer was there. You know what I mean? Like there was a ton of people on the stage. when you have Moxley and Cage, it's going to be Mox, it's going to be Cage and Taz, and then a moderator or some guy there to hold the belt up. You know what I mean? Like, I think the press conference gimmick would have worked better with them, and the produced video promos between Cody and Hager would have worked better for this. And then Arn can do a couple takes and cut his words down and get it to where it needs to go. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing would have been better produced. But I like the idea. I hope they bring it back, hopefully with some better execution. You know, thinking about the Kenny Omega Jericho build-up, and they would do those, because, like, the wrestling matches are real in Japan. Like, that is covered more strictly by the press than baseball or any other sport in Japan. That's wrestling country over there. And these press conferences is how they progress the story. And Jericho attacks Kenny Omega once, and then Omega attacks Jericho the next time. They didn't have time to tell a big story through press conferences, but I mean, that situation dictated, like, it worked for that. And Jericho and Kenny knew how to work that moment. I don't think Jake really knew how to handle himself, but you would think he would, being a Bellator fighter, and, you know, he's done these kind of press conferences before, but I don't know.
So you didn't like the Jake part?
I mean,
because I thought he was the best part of this whole thing. I like the whole fist in the face, and
but
it should have ended at that. They didn't need to get his wife involved.
Well,
I think we've talked about that in the past too. Like,
she throws the water in the face so that there's a moment in the match when Brandy gets one back at her, right? You know, like, that spot's happening.
well, that's what I mean. Like, it's like we already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
I agree that Hager was the best part of this, but he didn't have to do anything. He just comes up on stage and says, "Are you ready to do this?" Like, he doesn't care. And then, he puts his fist in Cody's face. They do a little bit of pushing back and forth. Like, he had nothing to contribute, so he, like, wins it by default because everybody else did too much. So,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, that's my thoughts on it. Either way, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a good match, but we'll talk about that later in the night. Okay.
All right. Next segment.
Next segment, we get a video package, kind of the continuing saga of the Jersey Boys, Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. What did you think of this package? What do you think the narrative of this story is?
I have no idea, to really tell you the truth, but I like it. I like how they're filmed. I like that, especially in this one, where it was they put a bit of comedy into it, because that's Joey, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, he needs to stop, and they stop at a gas station, and he's buying snacks while Sonny is getting attacked by this mob of guys who want to steal the car.
Right.
And I like how they left it again, where there could be another thing on from here. I really hope where this is leading is that they're going to be partners, like where it's going to be official. I know we're calling them the Jersey Boys. That's not official though, is it?
Excalibur calls them that.
Oh, okay.
They don't put it up on, you know, at the bottom of the screen or anything like that. It's still Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. But I mean, I called them the Jersey Boys first. It was the next week, the next time they showed up on Dark, that Excalibur called them the Jersey Boys. And then it was again in the matchup we're about to talk about here right away that Excalibur again was calling them the Jersey Boys. It was a good outing by the Jersey Boys. So, But let's get ready. I mean, I agree. Like this, the way these vignettes are shot, it's very noir. I don't know if that's the right word. It's not black and white, but I mean, it's very like I mean, it's almost so clear it's blurry. I don't know that feel to it. It's that very third party. They're not being filmed. It's like they're being followed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like a crew documenting their adventures. And yeah, they go to the gas station, Sonny's filling it up with gas, gets attacked by these guys, and Joey doesn't know what's going on. He's paying for his jerky and stuff like that. And it's not until he comes out and he's like, oh shit. And then he goes and gets involved. They're doing tag team moves on these guys. Like, yeah, it's all working, dude.
Yeah.
I hope it
really
continues. I hope it continues. So let's get right into it. The next matchup of the night. It's the Jersey Boys, not officially named, against the Exalted One, Mr. Brodie Lee, and his hopefully new companion of Colt Cabana. He's trying to recruit Colt Cabana into the Dark Order. And this matchup was really good. I think they did a really good job of telling the story and how Brodie is, what's the word, coaxing, grooming Colt Cabana to be part of the Dark Order. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. I feel like for Cabana and Brodie Lee, this was their best matches that I've seen in AEW thus far. And I mean, Brodie Lee's had some like main event matches, but I think this one was like the best for him. I feel like he's finally feeling comfortable of where he's at with the whole character and the guys that he's working with. And then you have Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Like, I think on paper, these guys should not work together, but they like so work together.
Yeah. Like,
they're so different looking, and even the way they wrestle is different, but yeah, they make it work. It's so, I'm so pumped to see these guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Every time they're on.
I like how Joey had the glasses that he bought at the gas station in the promo. He had them.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they were like the pink hearts or something like that. These novelty sunglasses.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. He was wearing them in the match. It was pretty cool. It's just a nice little touch. But yeah, I totally agree, man. These guys, they're gelling. I saw this the first time we saw them tag together on Dark. At that moment, it was obviously just let's throw these two together to go against these two, just so everybody can get on TV. It seemed like it was just a thrown together thing, but man, did they ever gel. And they worked well together. Like, they obviously have some kind of history working together on the independents or something. These two have worked together before. They're too good. They're too good together. So
right.
I hope it's a thing. I hope we get an official announcement. I hope we're not talking about this 6 months down the road when they're challenging for the tag team titles and we're still calling them Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Tag teams should have a name.
Yeah. I mean, we still have Omega and Hangman.
That's right? What I mean. So. Like, we're talking about this 6 months later. Why don't these people have a name? But it is what it is. Match was really good.
So Colt and Brodie Lee go over on this one. And then after the match, we get some weirdness. At least for me, I don't get this. Do you get this?
The Lance Archer stuff?
Yeah.
Well, this has kind of been his thing. Right? He did the interview.
Attacking random.
Yeah, he attacked not Serpentico, but the other masked guy that we saw in Dark a couple weeks ago. Attacks him out in the parking lot. He drags money out and slams him down on Dark. That credit to that guy for sitting on the ramp dead as a doorbell for the whole match. Not that it was a long match, but the guy didn't move a muscle the whole time he was slammed out there. So credit to him. This is just his gimmick now. It's been ever since he lost the match with Moxley Cody, that he's just been going on this tear and he's beating everybody up. And I think this is it was another moment for him to come out and lay waste to a couple wrestlers. So I don't know if I want to read too much more into it than that. I think it's just what his gimmick is now, but it did lead. We are getting a Joey Janela Lance Archer match at Fyter Fest. It was announced later in the night. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Lance is kind of in a Bermuda Triangle moment right here where there's a ton of potential for him. They just don't have a clear idea what they want to do with him. So he is the Murder Hawk monster. Just go out there and beat the shit out of anybody and anybody who will let you beat the shit out of them, right? So
Yeah. Like, I mean, just at the moment, it seemed very random. But like you say, maybe that's what they're going for.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's the first time that he's attacked anybody with name value. So there's that. It's a progression in the character, I guess. Because usually it's just been jobbers. It's just been people like dark. So
yeah, and then you had Jake, still like he can't control him.
He's losing
trying
control.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup of the night. We had SCU being represented by Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian going up against FTR, the new kids on the block, if you will. This was arguably the best match of the year so far. This tag team match just clicked. These four worked so well together. Everything was crisp. No one looked lost. I mean, besides Young Bucks versus Hangman and Page, which is probably arguably the best match, the best tag team match of all time, this, according to Dynamite, was the best match I've seen on Dynamite so far. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I totally agree. There was like one, if I wanted to be really picky, like one spot that if it was shot at a different angle, we probably wouldn't even noticed. But there was a knee by Christopher Daniels that didn't connect, and it was sold. It looked bad to me. But like I couldn't take my eyes off of this match. I dropped what I was doing and I totally watched, and it had everything. Like it just had everything and didn't have all that kind of flashy new tag team stuff like kind of the Young Bucks and whatnot do. It was just a good old wrestling match. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, everybody was tagging. This is kind of the thing with FTR, right? One of their FTR monikers is follow the rules. And the commentators put that over, they're holding on to the tag rope. They're making their tags. They're not doing anything cheap, per se. But, this was just a clean tag team match. It was very obvious that the point of this match was to show what a tag team match should and could be. That was the objective. Now, it should be noted that this match was supposed to be the Natural Nightmares. But
what?
Yeah, this was supposed to be FTR versus Natural Nightmares. But QT has been in contact with someone with COVID, much like Moxley. So he's staying home. There's a lot of people from his school that have also opted to stay away from the stadium. One of them being the star of the show herself, Anna Jay. Now,
no,
they don't have COVID, but they were in contact. Somebody at the school has it, and Did
they mention this on the show?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't catch it. Okay.
Yeah,
it makes sense why QT wasn't at the press conference.
And then
I thought it was weird that Allie was there, but
and then if you notice on the side during this match, Allie's got a sign, "I miss you, QT."
Oh, I know. I missed that.
Yeah. So, but that's why. So, the reason I bring that up is that if you have this match with FTR and the Natural Nightmares, I think it comes off the same way. Maybe not executed as well, but it would have still been a clear-cut tag team match through and through. And I think it would have got the point across, which is getting over the fact that FTR are tag team wrestlers. And this is what tag team wrestling should be. Now, my only complaint, you had the kind of the botched knee. Me, Cash Wheeler does a Hurricane Rana. And I'm like, no flips, just fists. What the fuck happened to that?
Yeah.
I've never seen Tully Blanchard pull off a Hurricane Rana. But then again, I haven't seen a whole lot of...
You can't even say it. You can't even say it.
So, I mean, there's that. But, I mean, this was a great match. Like I said, it's probably realistically the best match I've seen on Dynamite in the 6 months of 2020 that we've had. So, it's really, really good. I suggest you guys go out and watch it if you haven't watched it already. FTR wins the match with the Goodnight Express. Not liking this name for this move, but it's better than Shatter Machine.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I wonder, like, we can get such creative names for things, and then sometimes not so much.
Yeah. Like you mentioned a couple weeks ago that Excalibur has kind of he's kind of held responsible to name some of these moves on the fly. So if this was one of them, I think it's a miss, is all I'm saying. It's not a bad name. It's just, I think it's a miss. It doesn't.
I mean, I
sound
don't.
Tough.
I didn't. He's not responsible for it. He's been asked to do it in some occasions. I'm gonna say that this is not one of his. I think this is FTR.
Okay.
Made this one up.
Okay.
But we'll see. You know, sometimes moves also, they try a name, doesn't work, they change it.
Yeah. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
But we had a lot after this match going on.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about that real quick.
So we get a promo. I can't remember. Do you remember who was doing the promo here?
Dax Harwood.
Dax. Okay. And he was like basically shooting on all of the tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went through a lot of them.
And he left out one in particular.
Yeah. Butcher and the Blade. Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah, then it cuts over to their truck, which is the way they do their entrances. And Butcher and the Blade are one's in the cab, Butcher's in the driver's seat,
right?
And Blade's in the back of the truck, and Blade starts, talking to him and basically challenges them to a tag team match at Fyter Fest, an 8-man tag where we would see the FTR and the Young Bucks going up against Butcher and the Blade and Pentagon and Phoenix.
Well,
what do you think about? Go ahead.
Well, he kind of alludes to, our partners, and he leaves it ambiguous, and then it cuts back to the ring, and Pentagon and Phoenix are behind them, and then they attack, and then eventually the Young Bucks come out for the save. Pentagon and Ray run out to the truck, and they all leave together. They steal FTR's truck, and then it's announced that the 8-man tag match is set for Fyter Fest. Now, I'm loving that Pentagon's back. I love that Ray's back. Maybe come Fyter Fest, Pac will return, and we can make fun of Death Triangle a little bit more. But I mean, I called this 8-man tag. I called it. It's just I thought it was going to be best friends in a way, because they seemed to be that fourth tag team that was involved. But I mean, yeah, they got tag team championship match at Fyter Fest. So who else do you sub in? So I mean, I'm excited for this match. I mean, just like 6-man tag matches, 8-man tags don't really work. As a spectacle to watch, but I'm gonna be more excited as how FTR and Young Bucks work together. Because the Young Bucks are gonna be out there doing all their flips and stuff, and then FTR is gonna be doing the smash and pound kind of style, and vice versa on the other side.
That's what I'm really excited about. Is we have the wrestlers. I use that term,
loosely.
We'll say, FTR and Butcher and the Blade, they're more traditional pound, do wrestling moves. And then you have these other two tag teams that are the more modern tag where,
right.
It's flips, it's
the choreographed
spot monkey if you want to be
high
like that.
Wrestling.
So, I'm really interested on how they choose to do this match. Yeah, it's crazy we're getting this type of match on TV.
Yeah,
and this is pay-per-view.
This is a pay-per-view match.
Yeah, for sure.
Do not miss this, everybody. Tune in.
Yeah, you guys got to stay to the end because we're gonna have predictions on all these matches if we haven't mentioned that yet.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's keep the show rolling though. We get into produced video package featuring the best friends talking about their upcoming challenge for the tag team championships. We hear from Kenny and Paige, Omega and Paige, I should say. Sorry, and this was a really well done little package. I thought Kenny could have showed up a little bit more. Kenny's promos have always been just him in shorts and a tank top, and he's just kind of, he's just kind of aloof in the thing. Where Paige is a character. He's got his cowboy shirt on, he's got the big belt buckle, he's got his whiskey in his hand, and he's acting kind of drunk and stuff like that. It just seems like Kenny kind of always phones in these little packages. He's almost to himself in a way.
Right.
Other than that,
and then on BT, he's totally not himself.
Yeah, he's totally exuberant and over the top, right? So it's just weird, but not saying I want to see BTE Kenny on Dynamite. I do not want that at all.
No,
but he should try to be a character of some sort, even if it's Kenny Omega the character. To me, he's just being Tyler. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It is what it is.
I really like this for the fact that we're really getting a story now. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that it's an original story, but it's like we're best friends. We're a tag team. There's best friend side. And then you have the other side where, there's still conflict there. They don't even have a name. They're not friends. And I thought it's interesting that Jim Ross, because I think he started it in this video packages, there's still tension there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, really? Like, we hadn't seen it for at least 2 or 3 weeks now.
Well, ever since Hangman's been back, really.
Yeah. So what do you think about this? Do you think this is part of the story? Are we going to see the story progress?
I just wonder if it's just later. I think it's just a reminder that there is some tension between these. Don't forget that there were problems. I think that's just the reminder. But I mean, Kenny kind of brings it up. Yeah, we're not best friends, but we're more than best friends. We're something more. We're brothers. We're the elite. And he kind of just puts his twist on it. But yeah, definitely not an original story. I've definitely seen this before. I would argue, the Hardys Edge and Christian Dudley boys, they kind of have all been a part of this kind of story, being actual brothers, fake interracial brothers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've all been a part of this story, probably on each side, where, you know, they are being portrayed as the truly cohesive unit, as opposed to the you know, the manufactured cohesive unit. But
Right.
yeah.
I wasn't even thinking of outside of AEW, but like where we've seen this story before is like Inner Circle.
Yeah.
You know, we've never fought. We you know, we're a group, and then Elite is not really that. So yeah, I thought it at least made a story about what this match is going to be about. So
yeah, and we'll dig into this a little bit more during the predictions at the end of the show. But we move right into a video promo package, kind of building up some heat for the AEW Championship match between Brian Cage and Moxley. What were your thoughts on this?
This one seemed pretty similar to what it was last week.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a replay, but it seemed very similar to what that was, and more of an introduction into the next match, really. So
yeah, I think that's all it really was, is they needed, because Moxley's not there. Again, just like the SCU replacing Natural Nightmares, this was supposed to be John Moxley against who does he go up against here? Joe Cruz. Yeah. This was supposed to be Moxley versus Cruz, but because Moxley was staying in Las Vegas, as part of his self-isolation and quarantine, we get Brian Cage. So this was kind of an introduction. Just, you know, quickly remind everybody what's going on. Brian Cage comes out, completely decimates Joe Cruz. And then we get Taz's promo after the fact, which, I mean, the match was the match. Brian Cage went over in like 2 minutes. We don't need to really talk about that. But this promo that Taz does, when it happened, I was like, dude, you can't say that. Like, it was said on the broadcast by Jim Ross that Moxley has been in contact with somebody with COVID-19. He's tested negative. He chose to stay home for the safety of all of us at AEW. And then Taz comes on the microphone and calls it a bullshit excuse. I don't know. I mean, I myself can separate it. It was a character choice words, but I worry for Taz because this world is so fickle in its emotions nowadays that I can't help but feel like he might get some backlash on this one.
Yeah, I would say that was a character phrase. It wasn't what he really felt the situation was.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
It's just, yeah, he's doing his thing, and that's what flowed out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, these promos probably aren't scripted, but
no, absolutely not.
You have to get a certain point out, and it's the fact that John Moxley didn't show up for work this week when he should have, and that's bullshit. And it came out, like I said, I can separate the two, you can separate the two. When you got 1 million people watching you every week, there's probably a good chunk of people that won't be able to separate the two, and they would find that a little egregious, if that's the right use of that word. I don't know, but
I don't know. I think you're reading a thesaurus or something. Yeah.
I mean, word of the day, toilet paper.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, totally.
Hopefully he's not getting fined, and
yeah,
we have another act out. But
yeah, for sure.
We'll see where it goes.
Well,
pumped for this match, though.
Yeah, for sure. Totally skipped the match itself, so we'll skip that scene. We'll go right into the backstage interview kind of eavesdrop between Colt Cabana and Brodie Lee. Brodie Lee basically announcing to us that at Fyter Fest, we are going to get Colt Cabana and Brodie Lee versus SCU. And again, this is just building on this character relationship between Brodie Lee and Colt Cabana and how, we worked really well together. That was awesome. Because Colt is like, man, that felt really good. Felt good to be back in the win column. He's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. And, we're going up against SCU. And Colt, really sells this. I got to give Colt props on this. He was just like SCU? Really? You think we're ready for that? That's the feelings that I'm getting out of him. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What are your thoughts on this little bit?
I thought it, again, really well done. Best stuff I've seen both of these guys do in AEW. They're really working on the story, which, really is, half of what wrestling is the story. He had me completely fooled. I was, again, those moments where I'm questioning how well I'm following wrestling, because I'm like, what kind of background does SCU and Colt have? Why would he be afraid to go up against them or whatnot? And then, like you said, it was just, great, a sell on, that's what he needs to be. He needs to be afraid. And then for Brodie to convince him that, you're better off with us.
Right.
So.
And I like,
really good stuff.
I like Brodie's promo against SCU. You weren't believers in the past, but now you'll see what you didn't see before. I can't remember exactly how he said it.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is kind of the apex, the culmination of the whole Christopher Daniels, there's no Exalted One story that we were getting before the pandemic. This is going to be the payoff to that. We're going to finally see that clash, and they've just kind of implemented Colt Cabana's story into this, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
It would be really cool if we had another week here where SCU could kind of go on this "we're gonna save you" Colt. I think that would be a good angle for them to come back with some promos saying,
well, the Brodie Lee Colt Cabana SCU match is happening on night 2. So we do have a week. We do have a week for SCU to try something, for sure.
Okay. There's bonus points for me if I call that one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll approved.
All right.
Moving on with the show, we get another big Swole Britt Baker bit. Referring to last week, Britt Baker was out on the cart. Swole drives away with her earlier in the night, and then we find her about 9 to 10 hours later in a dumpster. Longest episode of Dynamite ever. So this week, Britt's in the cart again, but she's got the Pope Mobile going. She's encased in plexiglass. No one can get at her. Forgot to put a roof on it. And Swole,
but it was soundproof.
It was soundproof, but yeah, there was no roof. Weird. Not too smart for a doctor, but
no.
Anyways, Swole, being the genius she is, notices there's no roof and grabs a garbage can and dumps a bunch of garbage on Britt. Again, this is just great heel work by Britt. She handles this really well, and Swole just advancing her character more. Everything about this short little bit was really, really well done. There's not much more to talk about than that, but really well done. Progressing the story.
Doesn't Britt blame Tony for allowing that all to happen?
Yeah,
and then Tony's just like, you have a security guard. Like, how can I even be blamed for any of this?
That's right.
Yeah.
He's standing right there. How did he let this happen? Yeah. Hilarious.
Good stuff.
Let's move on to the last matchup of the night. This was Santana with Ortiz at his side versus Broken Matt Hardy with Neo 1. And again, this was a match that was supposed to be something different, but because of circumstances, it had to change. This was supposed to be Sammy Guevara versus his choice of a version of Matt Hardy. But again, like we reported at the beginning of the show, Sammy Guevara is suspended without pay because of comments made in 2015. So they substitute in Santana. Again, it makes sense. Another member of Inner Circle going up against essentially Damascus. This was a really well put together match, especially short notice, being that the news about Sammy was Tuesday night, so they didn't have a lot of time to alter any changes, but it worked. Santana stepped into the role. He stepped up to the plate, and he knocked his opportunity out of the park on this one. So it was a really well done match. What'd you think?
Yeah, I really liked it too. I don't know that we've ever seen Santana by himself, so it was nice to see him kind of showcased in there.
I think he had a match against Moxley.
Did he?
Yeah, leading up into Revolution before he won the title. I think he had a tune-up match against Santana, but...
Oh, okay. You have better memory than I do.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like the most disappointing part of this whole match was the fact that there was a commercial break in there. And I felt like I remember saying to myself, I can't stop watching these commercials. And it's taking away the focus from the match. Like this picture in picture, I don't know what your feelings are on it. It doesn't work for me.
Well,
the match is too small, and then we're not hearing any audio from that, and we have this. It's, I don't know. I would rather you go to commercial and then come back.
Right.
Like it would be the same essentially. The picture in picture, I'm too distracted.
Yeah, I wonder if, I'm sure they can't do this because of advertisement revenue and stuff like that, but if the wrestling was bigger, but you could only hear the commercial, you know, because that's the main part of the commercial, is that they tell us about whatever they're telling us about.
Yeah.
So we still hear that, but still the focus on the screen is more the wrestling. Would it work better? I don't know if the Burger Kings and the Coca-Colas and all that out there that pay these millions of dollars to have commercials on the air would ever allow that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't care for it either. I'd much rather just have a clean break, do the commercial break, and then come back.
Yeah, like, because I really feel like when it's picture in picture, I need to stay watching because it's there, but I'm so distracted.
Yeah.
Where if it's just a commercial, all right, I'll go grab another beer, I'll use the washroom, whatever, and come back.
Or
and I didn't even mention it earlier. Earlier in the night, we had a commercial break where the picture in picture was black for the time.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I wasn't sure if it was this one or not, but yeah. And then sometimes they don't even do picture in picture. So it's so inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I mean, the Vanilla brand used to do something where you could have the app and you could continue to watch the match without commentary, but at least you'd have the sound on your app during the commercial break. Maybe that's something, this was a very innovative thing at the time, like phone apps, second screens. They weren't really popular. It's pretty new when Vanilla Brand implemented this, so it didn't really catch on, so they kind of scrapped it. But now the second screen, mentality is out there. A lot of different applications are using this. I use it when I stream. You know what I mean? So maybe it's time for that. If you really want to do that kind of thing, maybe that's something to try. I don't know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the match was great.
I really felt like it interrupted the match.
Oh, for sure.
'Cause it was a really good match. And then we get an announcement at the end.
We did?
Just tell us about that. Yeah.
What was the announcement?
That it would be Private Party versus Proud and Powerful.
Oh, was that...
Did we not get that? Did I make that up?
Was that then, though? I thought that had already happened.
It is the first I heard of it.
Oh. I don't know. I can't really remember what the order of the night was, because there was a moment where they're like, all the matches are set, and they ran through them. They brought them all up on the screen. So maybe that happened afterwards.
I think that was after this segment.
Okay.
Going into the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
I thought, I'm like, we have so much time left, but this is like this should be the last match.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're already on match 5 or 6 at this point. So I'm like, why is there so much left? Forgetting that they had this Orange Cassidy Jericho thing. So
right. So Matt Hardy wins the match. Santana and Ortiz attack Matt Hardy afterwards. They get the Mad Ball out and they're beating them. Private Party comes out for the save because Private Party and Matt Hardy have been kind of, hanging out together anyways. And and then like you said, we go into and the commentators give us the rundown of night 1 and night 2 of Fyter Fest. They give us all the official matches listed, sanctioned, whatever you want to say, and this is one of them. Proud and Powerful versus Private Party tag team match. It'll happen on night 2. And yeah, again, we'll talk about that in our prediction show as it progresses. So yeah, big stuff coming for Fyter Fest. I'm really excited for what's happening. But kind of the exclamation point of the night is the much anticipated face-off between Orange Cassidy and Le Champion Chris Jericho. I had a hell of a time trying to predict what was going to happen in this face-off, and I'm like, they can do so many different things, and Chris Jericho is so creative when it comes to these type of things. Which way is he going to go, kind of thing, and I think they nailed it. I really liked this segment.
Yeah, so did I. I like the way it started, and I'm like you said, I think that's the creativity of Chris Jericho. Where he comes up with, here's this joke everybody has heard, and it's not even that funny, and essentially, Orange Cassidy, you're this joke, like you're this not funny, just ordinary thing that why does anybody even care about it? I thought it was a good way to start the segment.
Yeah, for sure. I like how Jericho is just like, he brings up the lazy kicks. He's like, if you ever do these to me or try to do this to me, I'm gonna knock you out. I can't really remember what he says, and Orange Cassidy's just like, dude, starts doing them to him, and Jericho's just like, and then the brawl starts, right? Like, I just like how the crowd was into it. Oh, and then he goes for the super kick. Oh, I freaking love Orange Cassidy, right? So I mean, it just, and Jericho sells it perfectly. He's just like, I freaking told you not to do that. And then the brawl starts, right? And this is one of the kind of, better brawls that don't end in pull aparts. Do you know what I mean? Like, these guys were kind of free to do whatever, Best Friends didn't come out. Inner Circle didn't come out. It was just Cassidy and Jericho brawling it out. And they go through the stands. Jericho pulls out the camera gimmick, as expected. He was up there, had the camera, so he gets behind it and whatnot. Always ripping off the Rock, so.
But he catches Orange Cassidy with that camera jig and bust him open.
Is that what busted him open? I wasn't sure.
I think so. I don't think this was a rib. I think he really got him with that.
Did Cassidy just not get his arms up in the right spot and it kind of caught him behind the cheek here?
I'd have to rewatch it. I didn't catch it. I didn't even know he was bleeding until kind of, good 40 seconds after that.
Yeah, when he goes up the stairs. When he goes up the stairs, he kind of turns that way and all of a sudden the whole side of his neck and ear are red. Yeah. I wasn't sure when that had happened, but yeah, you got to think it was from the camera spot.
Yeah. Kind of interesting that he shows color again in a Chris Jericho kind of get together.
Makes you think that this was Hardway.
Yeah, and it's weird where it happened. Like, you think if you're gonna bust yourself open, you're gonna do it like on your face, but it's like it's on his ear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was
added to it, and then we get the big hit at the end, and Jericho's the one on the ground.
Yeah,
with Orange Cassidy standing tall.
Yeah, for sure.
So
this segment did everything it needed to do to make this matchup legitimate. Might be a strong word because I was already excited for this match. I think this is one of those matches that has the potential to steal the show, especially night 2. So I don't want to say legitimate, but I mean for the rest of the world who maybe aren't sold on Orange Cassidy, Corey, this segment did everything it needed to do to, you can't help but be excited for this match. This match is going to be good. And Orange Cassidy did not hold anything back in this brawl. Again, the commentators are putting it over. Like, he's trying. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from the outside, you're like, this match doesn't make any sense, but I think this spot really did well to say, we have this is the way this guy fights. And then we have the way you fight is nothing. And then we're really going to see who's going to win. Is it going to be the GOAT or is it going to be the comedy wrestler who's not really funny?
Right. All right. Well,
cool.
Well, let's get right in before we close out the show. Let's get right into night 1 predictions for Fyter Fest. Night 1, I'll just quickly run through the matches that we have lined up for night 1. We have Jurassic Express versus Jurassic Express being represented by Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus MJF and Wardlow. We have Private Party versus Santana and Ortiz. Hikaru Shida putting up the AEW Women's Championship versus Penelope Ford. We have Cody putting up the AEW TNT Championship versus Jake Hager, as well as the Tag Team Championship match, Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus the Best Friends. So let's talk about this first matchup. Jurassic Express versus MJF and Wardlow. How do you see this playing out?
I feel that it's going to be MJF and Wardlow
for sure, 100%.
Yeah, my reasons are I don't think that Jurassic Express needs this, and not that MJF and Wardlow really need it either, but I think for MJF's character, he needs a win here. And it's funny in this broadcast, Jim Ross brings up that, he sees Wardlow being out on his own at some point. I don't think we're going to see that this time, but I think with this win, it's going to lead to that. Why do you pick MJF and Wardlow?
I'm picking MJF and Wardlow because I just think that that's what they're going to do. Now, if it's me booking, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting Jurassic Express over They've been drilling into us that MJF is undefeated in singles wrestling. The only blemish on his mark is this fatal 4-way match where he was not pinned. So I think if Wardlow takes a pin in this match, it adds to that, and MJF starts doubting Wardlow because he caused him a loss. And then that's what sparks Wardlow to act back and bite the hand that feeds him in a way. And then that leads to Wardlow's ascension into singles wrestling and away from MJF. If I was booking, that's the story I would tell. I agree with you. I don't think that's where they're going. My official prediction, MJF and Wardlow. Again, the Ring is probably going to make an appearance. Not quite sure how they'll do that since Wardlow isn't ringside. He's part of the match. But I think it's going to be... I would say it's going to be MJF pinning Luchasaurus.
Okay. I really like where you're going with that, and I think they could still do it with an MJF Wardlow win.
They can do that later. They can pull that out anytime, but I think it's the
time. Like Wardlow could make a mistake. They could almost lose, and then MJF can say like, we won barely, but
I had to save your ass, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they could start it.
I like where you're going with that. I think it needs to start. I think MJF doesn't need Wardlow.
No.
And Wardlow, I think he could be really big in this company. I think he needs to be big in this company.
I want to hear this guy talk. When we got introduced to Wardlow was Full Gear. They did a video package. Was it Full Gear or was it All Out? They did this video package where he was there's a bunch of guys up in a parking garage and he shows up and beats the shit out of all of them. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, holy shit. Massive guy, good looking guy, just destroys all these people. Didn't really talk, and then we get introduced to him, and he's MJF's kind of lackey, and he still doesn't talk. He's just the muscle guy. So I want to hear this guy talk to see if he could handle being a singles wrestler. I think he definitely has the talent. He's big and he's strong and he can throw everybody around. But I think it's coming. I agree. I think it's coming. MJF and Wardlow.
I feel like he probably has a lot of personality. He's probably like a super funny guy in the back.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he's just all serious with that look. So
he reminds me of Craig.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Like just that kind of guy.
Probably that.
Shout out to Craig. We love you.
Craig, yeah. Subscribe already.
Jesus, I haven't saw your name pop up in the comments yet. What the hell? All right, let's move on. Private Party versus Proud and Powerful.
All right, your pick first.
I'm picking first on this one. You know what? Private Party's kind of been on a downskid since coming back from quarantine. I think this continues. I'm going to go Proud and Powerful.
Okay. Really, this is one of those ones where you could really flip a coin, right?
Mm-hmm. I think let me elaborate on my prediction a little bit. Okay. Private Party's new relationship with Matt Hardy, it needs somewhere to go. So if Private Party comes in and they just win this match, then Matt Hardy really has nothing to do with it. But if they lose this match, now Matt Hardy has something to do. He can coach these young guys, help bring them back up, so they need to go down a little bit further before they come back up. That's where I think everything is. So yeah, I'm picking Proud and Powerful on this one.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right that they've been kind of trying to build up this relationship on the show as he's the mentor helping out the young talent. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Private Party, just so we're not tied the whole way through here. So no real reason, just I'm just going against you. That's all.
Okay. Well, I picked Proud and Power. Like, honestly, I mean, if I'm being honest, I picked Proud and Powerful just so you have one. So. All right, let's move on. AEW Women's Championship match. Champion Hikaru Shida going up against number one contender Superbad Penelope Ford. What do you got? Hit me with it.
All right. I don't see Shida losing the strap at this point. And that's really all it's about. Nothing against Penelope. I think they could work a story where, Sabian interferes and she gets that belt. I don't see it happening at this point. We haven't really seen what Shida can do as a champion, so I think they're gonna keep her on the belt.
For sure, I agree. I think it would be a slap in the face to all the work that Shida did during the pandemic era, if you would call that, if they just took the belt off her right now. I think Penelope comes out of this match looking really strong, though. I think as much as Shida really dictated the match against Nyla Rose at Double or Nothing, I think Penelope Ford will, lie, cheat, and steal her way to the momentum of this match and kind of carry this match. But that just gives Shida that nice babyface comeback and ultimately get the win. But I think it's crazy to say that I think Shida versus Ford is going to be more competitive than Shida versus Rose was. Like, isn't that just crazy to think about?
Yeah, I mean it's a totally different match, right?
But again, that's leading into our whole conversation of Rose not really protecting herself and her character. So, but anyways, yeah. Shida retains AEW Women's Championship. All right, next matchup of the night, we have the TNT Championship match. The American Nightmare Cody versus Jake Hager.
All right, you go first on this one.
One's on me. Simple answers, Cody retains. There's no reason. We're just getting into this open challenge era. I feel like they can still do a lot with this open challenge. The open challenge just doesn't work with a guy like Jake. So yeah, I think this is Cody all the way.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It would just seem, again, I'm not finding my words, but to me it seems too scripted. If Jake was to take it here, like it seems like it doesn't do justice to the belt.
Right.
Like we already said, Cody having the belt from the very beginning, being the first champion, was a TNT probably influenced thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to have, really no competition and then lose it to Jake, it'd be like, this was the plan all along. So yeah, I don't see them doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he's going to lose it, there needs to be a story. And really, there's no story here. They tried to make one this week, but yeah, this is just going to be a hard-hitting match. And for bonus points, I'm saying Cody is going to show color.
Talk about the easiest bonus points ever. I mean,
do you think that this is going to be a UFC? Like, are they going to try to put that spin on this match? Is that how they're going to play this one out?
Well, I mean, Hager being an MMA fighter is going to bring that element. That's part of his moveset now. He's going to be doing a lot of his amateur wrestling, a lot of grappling. He's going to be doing some submissions and stuff like that. Like, that's going to be a part of the match. But I don't see Cody tying into that, being a great amateur wrestler himself, Georgia State champion, back-to-back years, undefeated, 40-plus matches, whatever. I just don't see it. That would not be entertaining to watch, I feel. Now, you want to talk bonus points. I mentioned it earlier. There's going to be an altercation between Brandi and Hager's wife. And that was the whole reason for the water spot. So, I mean, okay. I'll give you your Cody color. But if I'm going to put that down there. If he doesn't show color, what's the punishment? Is it -1? Or do I
guess so.
Because that's even money. That's an even money bet that he's showing color. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
But yeah, Cody's winning. Cody's winning the belt. He's retaining the belt. Sorry, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, this could be the first prediction where I actually am in the minus.
No. All right. Main event of night 1, the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. We have our champions Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus the Best Friends.
My pick first. I am choosing Best Friends.
Wow.
I know. That's why I said it, is to get that wow out of you. But I also feel like there needs to be a title change. And if we're going to pick a title change, it's going to be this one. So I'm doing Best Friends.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that same thing. No.
That's because we're twins.
No, don't. I haven't made my prediction yet.
No, I know. No, I hear you.
We have 4 championships on the line. It was all about all the championships are on the line. AEW Women's Championship, Tag Team Championship, TNT, AEW World Championship. Out of those 4, if one were to change at Fyter Fest, 2-night event, July 1st, July 8th, the Tag Team Championships is the one that I think would change. Now, I am going to pick Omega and Page because I feel like their split up story shouldn't end with the Best Friends, or it shouldn't start with the Best Friends. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they're not deserving of that in a way, and how this story's been building. I just feel like it's got to be someone else who drives the nail in the coffin. So I'm picking the champions to retain, but this is definitely going to be the start, the resurgence of the tension. We're going to see a lot of cracks in the armor, and it's beginning. It's beginning.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, winter is coming. I honestly think that it's got to be a Young Bucks. It's got to be an FTR kind of tag team. But I will not be, let me put this in. I will not be upset if the Best Friends win. I will take my loss of a point, maybe a loss of the night. And I'll be okay with it. I'll be content because these guys definitely deserve it, man. They were the hardest working tag team during the pandemic. They're one of the most over. They're 2 of the better workers. They deserve it. And the whole promo on Dynamite was all about that. Like, man, we've been working so hard. We've been a tag team for X years, and we've never held a tag team championship belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's the whole story.
I feel like sorry, go ahead.
There was the whole story on Being the Elite where the Young Bucks had those custom championships made as best tag team in the world, and Chucky T and Trent throw them in the garbage at some airport in Denver or something like that. Like, they just kind of have that animosity towards tag champions. So I'll be okay if they win, but I don't think this is it.
Yeah. I feel like have we had like a real swerve in AEW yet? Like we haven't had it yet. And
Like
I
just
feel
really
like
like one of those moments.
Like you're just where the hell did that come from? I feel like
no, we haven't.
This is not that major one, but I feel like everybody is gonna think that they're gonna keep it. And I think if you're gonna have a swerve, I don't know. I'm betting on number 7 here. Just rolling the dice, and we'll see. We'll see if I can finally pull out a win against you.
Well, this is only night 1. Remember, this is only night 1.
Oh, we're adding them together. Well, I just want to win one night.
Okay, so, well, I mean, hey, I'll put the feather in your cap if you win night 1. But I mean, as it goes to our record books, both nights are going to be combined together. They're both Fyter Fest, right? So
I mean, if I win this night, I win it all, because I can just tie every one of your predictions.
Oh,
I already know what you're going to pick for the next one. So, like, I got it. I got it.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll hold off our week 2, our night 2 predictions for next week's episode, being that there is still an opportunity for more storytelling in between matches on night 1. We can still get some progression for the night 2 matches, but I will quickly let you guys know what those night 2 matches are. We will have Lance Archer versus Joey Janela. Nyla Rose in action against a opponent to be determined, and she also has an announcement, I think Excalibur had mentioned on the show. Not too sure what that means, but Nyla Rose will be in action. As well as SCU versus Dark Order. This is actually a 6-man tag match. I am wrong. We were wrong earlier. It's going to be SCU, all 3 members of SCU versus Brodie Lee, Colt Cabana, and Stu Grayson. So keep that in mind. We also have the highly anticipated Orange Cassidy versus Le Champion, Chris Jericho. The big 8-man tag match, Young Bucks and FTR versus Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Brothers. And the AEW World Championship match, Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage. So look forward to that. Let us know in the comments below what your predictions are for night 1. We would love to compare predictions with you guys. See if you can beat us. I'm kind of on an undefeated streak in the prediction department so far, so let me know if you can best me on those. But with that said, thanks for watching, everybody. It was a great show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments below on all your thoughts on everything we've talked about tonight. Predictions for next week's night 1 of Fyter Fest. And yeah, that's all we got to say this week. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Go fuck yourself, Corvette.